we say about ourselves that we're little like self-enclosed minds, and we think about ourselves as having a bunch of little ideas up there and so on. But what Heidegger wants to emphasize is that, on the contrary, what it's really like to be you or me is that we're kind of wrapped up in a world. And rather than having our identities sort of tucked away in our heads, our identities are kind of thrown out into the world in the ways we're connected with all these things. That people are, a person is more like a network of involvements with a situation or with an environment. And so a person is more like a way of living in a situation. That's kind of what a person is like. So Heidegger refers to that as being in the world. He says we're being in the world, and I think that way of talking is really powerful, because he starts to bring out all the dimensions that make up a person, and one of the most profound ones that he brings out is that we hold ourselves together as people pretty primarily by having a sense of home somewhere. And so, I said we're situated in a core way. That means we typically live with a basic sense of where our home base is. When I say where our home base is, that's on the one hand probably is in a kind of straightforward way spatial. Like you could probably say this place at this location, but it's richer than that. Like you're at home with certain people. You're at home with certain kinds of activities, right? But so we feel at home in our house or in a neighborhood or with certain people or in certain settings, basically where things seem to us to be set up the way they should be and to be going the way they should be. And again, this is not at the level of theoretical ideas we have, that, like I was saying about Freud and the unconscious. This is at the level of the sort of background feelings we have, what it is that just lets us feel like I'm okay, things are okay, things are as they should be. But I think that idea is a very profound one, that our identities begin with a sense of being at home. And again, connecting it again with Freud. Again, Heidegger doesn't do this, but I will connect it again with Freud. I think that thing I was saying about the child growing up with its parents is really about establishing a kind of home or establishing a kind of base, right? And that's really what's at stake in family life, is helping the growing person develop a secure, reliable, good platform that can be kind of the background for that person's life, from which they can then go engage in the world and so on. But so I think of Heidegger as really bringing out the way that our identities are inseparably attached to places, attached to other people, attached to certain ways of behaving, attached to certain times. That notion of the situated self is the big idea I take away from him. There are lots of other things in Heidegger too, but that I think is the particularly powerful point he brings out. And like, in other words, that he's saying he against other views of experience or against other views of knowledge or whatever, he's really saying this is where we start, and you're never going to understand what a person is like or what experience is like if you don't see that it always takes this kind of situated, networky kind of character. And I think that is a really I guess I could have added another word there too. I could have said embodied. I said, you've got a place, you got people, but you also have your own body, and that way that's connected with things, which again connects us back with the Freud. But I think that's the right starting point for philosophy. And so from Heidegger and others in that philosophical tradition of phenomenology, I really rely on that idea that we have to be accurate and honest in describing the form our experience actually takes. And when we do that, we see that it is this complex situated thing. It's not a matter of a self-conscious little mind that's at the control booth of choice or something like that. Those things happen too, but the core of us is the way we've established a kind of sense of home with places and people.